Toda, thank you. Just landing in the space that you so beautifully opened, Jenny, Rabbi Jenny. And just appreciating landing in this space with each of you. As Jenny was opening the session today with a few words, I was not closing my WhatsApp chat, which I'm doing now. I was looking at the chat, looking at your greetings and your blessings and where you're zooming from. And I was also looking at the Zoom windows, looking at your faces, faces I know, faces that are new, both of which bring me a lot of joy. It always brings me a lot of joy to see humans and to see Jews taking 45 minutes in their day to sit, to pause, and to listen to what is. Having this courage in a way of kind of taking ourselves away from the temptation of keeping running, thinking that we'll be more efficient if we keep doing and keep running and keep responding to emails and the phone and this and that. And when we dare stopping and pausing, then there is true freedom that opens, isn't it? And I think you're here because you've tasted that freedom, or because you have an intuition of that freedom, and because you want that freedom. Why am I talking about freedom? First of all, I talk about freedom all the time because I believe that this is what the practice is about. It's about being free, really deeply, deeply free from conditioning and entanglement and the stories the mind tells us all the time, free from kind of our past repeating itself, and free to choose the life we want, really. It also is particularly meaningful for me to talk about freedom today because we just opened the book of Shmot, which is a book of the passage from slavery, captivity to freedom, right? With a deep inner reading of this, according to Jewish mysticism, yeah? And obviously, and especially maybe as someone living in Israel, and as someone knowing people who have close ones still in captivity or who died on October 7th, we just entered a few weeks of hopefully passage from captivity to freedom, just in the same area geographically that Torah is teaching us about. So it's particularly moving to me to be sitting with you in these days and today. I want to talk a little bit about the parasha that we're walking towards, Parashat Vayera. If you do study with me in Torah Insights, we study the Sfat Emet this week. Or if you do study with me with the IGS study track, don't worry, it's not something we've seen already. It is from the Sfat Emet, but it's something we didn't have time to see in class yesterday. It's a passage that always really touched me, really, really touched me, and I was really glad that I got to be teaching this week with you. And again, even more so this week. And so I'm going to share my screen. Before I do, I actually want to invite us to take a breath together and to really make ourselves available. I invite you to close your eyes. To take a profound breath in. A profound breath out. Dedicating ourselves. This is what kadosh means. It's a dedication. So dedicating ourselves to this moment, this short and deep moment of Torah learning together before we meditate on this. And I also want to share that I want to dedicate this Torah learning today to two people, two friends. One is called Reuven, and he was sent to fight on October 7th. He was 4 months in Gaza, and then he was in Lebanon. He's not doing well. He's in post-trauma. He's in a lot of pain. And he cannot give himself the gift of meditation right now, so far. And my friend Maya, whose brother died on October 7th, and she used to meditate with me, and she's not capable of meditating right now. She's in depression. And I want to dedicate this Torah learning and this meditation to them. It's very precious that we are capable of sitting with ourselves and with our emotions, because some people who are in deep, deep pain have reached a point where they can't. And so I want to sit for them today. And I hope you sit with me for them a little bit as well. I'm going to share now my text. Look at this, my friends. וידבר משה, כן, על בני ישראל. And so Moshe spoke thus to Bnei Israel, just the way God told him. And the thus means it's a promise. It's a promise of liberation. So Moshe conveys a message. By the way, you don't have to look at the source sheet also. You can just close your eyes and take in my words if it feels more like it's serving you more in your practice right now, just so you know. I'm saying this because sometimes the danger when we look at the source sheet is we listen less and we use our eyes more, right? And also we go more into the brain, into the mind. And so my invitation is for you, if you'd like, to really just close your eyes and listen. If you'd like. So Moshe comes to Bnei Israel with a message of hope, an incredible message of hope, yeah. But this time, Velo sham'u el Moshe, and they couldn't hear Moshe. They couldn't hear him. Mikotzer ruach u'me'avoda kasha, because of a shortness of breath. Kotzer, katsar, is short, and it comes also from the shoresh, from the root, tsar, narrowness, and sar, suffering. Okay? Ruach, it's both the breath, it's the wind, and it's the spirit. And here clearly it has a connotation of spirit, because if we wanted to say just the breath, we would say neshima. Okay? But the fact that the text here is saying ruach, it really means we're not really talking about the fact that they're out of breath. Yeah? I just came here to this session on my bike and I was out of breath. But here we're talking about when we're in such suffering that we can't even breathe anymore. Right? Does that speak to you? You've been experiencing this? Yeah. I want to share with you, after October 7th, the first retreat I gave in France, people were telling me, oh my God, I'm realizing I haven't been breathing for 9 months. I just wasn't really breathing, you know? So that's kotzer ruach. It's when your spirits are so low that they're, even your spirit is kind of narrow and constricted, yeah? U'me'avoda kasha, and because of hard enslavement. The Sfat Emet is telling us something so beautiful. כשהיו בגלות, לא היה נגלה זה, because when they were in exile, this wasn't revealed to them. There is a play on word here between galut and nigle. It's the same letters, exile and revelation. And when we kind of move beyond galut, beyond the exile, we move into geula, redemption. It's also the same letters, just in a different order. But anyway, what wasn't revealed to them, the Sfat Emet is telling us, what wasn't revealed to them is kotzer ruach chayut Hashem yitbarach shebe'adam. The shortness of spirits or breath is pointing to the fact that what wasn't revealed to them, what wasn't revealed, was that they have the chayut, they have the life force of the divine life source within them. That is what they forgot. That is what wasn't revealed to them, that the life force is breathing within them. And then he's quoting this pasuk from Parashat Bereshit that tells us about the creation of the human being, Vayipach be'apav nishmat chaim, and he blew into their nostrils the breath of life. Right? This is how the first human being, who is both male and female, was brought to life. Through the divine source of life breathing the breath of life. And this is something that wasn't revealed to them in exile. This is something they didn't have access to. Okay? And then he says, ובגלות נפסק הדבקות שבשורש החיות. In exile, when we're in exile, which is also symbolically when we're kind of in a state of alienation, not really with ourselves, yeah? There is something about the dvekut, about the attachment, about the intimacy with life source, with our own roots, that is cut, that is interrupted. And sometimes the remedy is to start believing again, to start having faith again, and then my breath is going to become more fluid again. Yeah. But what if I can't? What if I don't feel capable? Well, then there is another way to work, and it's to work outside in. It's to start with the body. Sometimes redemption starts with the body. When my spirits, when my soul isn't capable of hoping, I can just start with my body. I can stop asking so much from myself, demanding so much, leave myself alone, and then just take care of my body. And if I invite myself to simply breathe deeper, then something may happen that actually can create a shift in my mindset and in my soul state. Does that make sense? So we tend to think that spiritual work is just inside out work, but actually there is also a lot of virtue in working outside in. When I'm saying outside, meaning from the body, starting with the body. The body can heal the soul. So I spoke a lot today, and I'm going to be happily silent now with you, meeting my soul together with you, because I want to share with you, I've been experiencing shortness of breath last Sunday, and I still am, as we're in the process of freedom of our stitches. And so this is a time to breathe for them, for the ones, if you'd like, also with me, the ones who are still there and the ones who are waiting for them. And for my two friends who are not capable of meditating right now, that they may feel this breath, this collective breath that we're breathing together right now. And whoever you want to dedicate your breath to right now, perhaps starting with yourself. So please close your eyes or gaze softly down, just inviting yourself to kind of turn within now. And within, by within, I mean turning towards your breath, meeting your aliveness. We take a deep breath in and out. If you feel you're very much in your head right now, or very, very emotional, and or if you feel simply it helps you to touch your chest, to feel your body, I find it very grounding. I want to invite you to place a hand on your chest, a hand on your belly, or two hands on your chest or on your belly. Just to feel the belly, the chest rising and falling naturally as the breath is coming in, rising, as the breath is coming out, moving out, falling. I'm going to invite a series of longer in-breath, not too long, but a little bit longer. And even more so, longer out-breath, generous, deep out-breath. And after 3 or 4 cycles like this, just allowing your breath to breathe naturally at its own pace. And I'll invite you to simply follow this, to follow the breath like it's the most important thing. to let your thoughts think and arise and pass and do what they do. Simply every time you notice you're back into thinking, into the trains of thoughts, oh, simply noticing and just coming back to the felt sensation of the breath coming in, and especially the longer exhale, bringing revach, the opposite of katsar, space, bringing space to your breath. Over and over again, simply coming back to the felt sense of the breath, feeling the space of the breath, allowing your body to breathe fully. Just being focused on that like it's the most precious, interesting, important thing right now. Can I again dedicate myself to this breath? Leagdish, and that's me. To dedicate myself to this breath for the last 2 minutes of our seat. Beautiful breath in, out. From the same breath, getting ready to say Kaddish with Rabbi Jenny.
Thank you so much, Mira, for that beautiful practice. So at this time, I invite you, if you are observing a yard site, if you are in mourning, if it's your custom, to rise now for Kaddish Yatom. You can feel free to unmute as we join our voices and our presence with the Kaddish prayer. Yitkadal, Vitkadal,
Mikdash Shemay Rabba
Yalmad,
Adisa Birte
Ras, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי תחוזי
Ore
בעגלה ובזמן קריב אמן.
Hishme,
הקיים. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהלל ויתעלה ויתקיים ויתשב לעילא ולעילא ושירתה יאמינן בעלמא ואמרו אמן.
Amen.
אמר שמיה ויהי לנו
So Israel.
עושה שלום במרומיו יעשה שלומנו ועל כל יושבי תבל.
Amen.
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 Amen ואמן. May the one who makes peace on high help us make peace here on this earth between people within our own hearts. Thank you, Mira, For those of you who need to continue on with your day, we send you off with blessings and with peace. For those who can stick around and join us for some conversation and reflection with Mira, we're so glad to have this chance to really continue our practice in the form of a conversation. Oh, Mira, thank you so much. Every morning when I say Birchot HaShachar, I'm so appreciative of the reminder that I'm free. When I say She'asani Bat Chorin, She'asani Ben Chorin, that you've made me free. And so to this practice, reminding us all that every time we sit to be with our breath, to be with this inheritance of freedom. It's always there, even if the external claims on us feel like those are the things we're beholden to, that there is actually a place within us that is our birthright, and to be able to reconnect with that again and again. Friends, feel free to put your questions in the chat.
I'm seeing a very interesting question.
Great, go for it.
Barbara is asking, in what way does the body heal the soul? So we know that soul and body are very intimately intertwined, yes. And we already know that sometimes when things are difficult for the soul, it expresses itself in the body, yes. On the skin, through diseases, so that we know, yes. And we know that when we go to therapy, sometimes physical ailments that we had disappear, yeah. And we tend to neglect the other way around. So I'll give very, very concrete examples. I am not a scientist, so I don't have the language, so please excuse me, okay? But what happens is that the things we do with the body are going to create things in the brain, pheromones, or I don't know how you call them, that change our way to relate to the present moment, that changes our perceptions, that changes the kind of the frequency of thoughts. So I'll give just a few examples. When we work out or when we do yoga, I do a lot of yoga, perhaps some of you do, right? One of the reasons we do yoga, actually traditionally in the Hindu tradition, was to quiet the mind. You did a physical practice in order to quiet the mind and to make the mind spacious enough that then you could really be available to pray deeply. In a way, yoga was the equivalent of the Hashkata practice that we do today with the Piedetz no Rebbe, right? Because when you do these movements, when you do movements with breath, it's going to change something. It's going to slow down the thoughts. And the breath bringing more oxygen in the blood. Again, excuse me, I don't have the terminology, but all I can say is that when I finish a yoga practice, my mind is vaster and my whole being feels open, feels calmer, feels energetic. I feel more literally, right? I feel more optimistic. I feel happier to be alive. I feel more grateful, right? Feeling good. It's not just because feeling good, right after we work out, we feel good. It's not just that feeling good makes us kind of think better. It's also that the exercising does something that actually affects the mind and the way we relate to the way we are in the world, literally. Yoga and sport is a wonderful antidepressant on the moment, right? In the moment. That's one concrete example. When you are gardening, you're touching the earth, you're with nature. These are known to be practices that heal, that suddenly make you feel connected, that suddenly remind you of the beauty and the grace and the vulnerability of the world. And so again, it changes your way of being in the world, feeling connected, decentering ourselves, or when we take care of, if you feed a child, or if you pet a dog, right? In Israel, there are a lot of dogs that are being literally used to help soldiers in post-trauma. And if you have a dog or a pet, you know that it's very soothing, it's very calming. It really works as an emotional regulator, right? So these are examples. Smiling. So one of you wrote when I was talking about, let's start with the body, let's start with the breath. So this is also a very famous practice, and a wonderful teacher, Thich Nhat Hanh, a Vietnamese Zen teacher, was teaching this practice of starting by smiling. Yeah, choosing to start by smiling for no reason, not waiting to be happy to smile, so not be passive with emotions, but actually giving ourselves the opportunity to do an active work on emotions, starting outside in. So I choose to smile. And again, there have been scientific studies done about this. It does something to my mindset. Someone is writing about hikes, right? So body practices really, really help the mind and the mindset and the soul state. Meditation, sitting quietly, breathing, paying attention to our breath. It's not for no reason that mindfulness became known in the States as a stress reduction technique used for, to help with chronic pain and with depression. So I hope that answers the question. But really, I think it's so important to also remember that spiritual practice actually starts with the body. By the way, meditation is a physical practice. Just because we're not moving doesn't mean it's not an embodied practice. It's very much an embodied practice. But leaving this alone and just being with this body, breathing, experiencing our being from another place.
Beautiful. I'm seeing a question here from Jacqueline. How do you recommend being able to focus on meditation and the breath, specifically when under immense stress and feeling like the only time one has to be available is in stolen moments?
Mm-hmm. So we're talking, yeah, I'm seeing two things here. I'm seeing immense stress, and I'm seeing having no time, right? Which are not two different kind of problems. Yeah. My mother used to say, we don't have time, we make time. So that I'm just starting with the easiest, which is stolen moments, yeah? Most of us don't have time. And the whole question is, what are our priorities? What are our priorities, and around which core do I want to organize my life? The good news is, even if you don't have time, presence and being in the present is accessing eternity, because the present is eternal, which is so this with God saying, I will be that I will be. And so if you don't have time to meditate, you do have time, I hope, to do this. Just that. And the more you do this, by the way, the more you can access this kind of space without needing that much time. And also, I'm reminding us that meditation and practice is not just a formal taking 20 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever time to sit. It's also, how do I walk to the living room? How do I drive my car? How do I do the dishes? Like, how am I present and embodied and with my breath and with my body in everything I do? And so we actually don't need that much time to practice. That's the good news. Even if it's great to have the time, yeah. When you're in bed, just taking a moment. I always do this when I go to sleep, and especially when I wake up before getting up, to just like letting my mind speak to me, kind of letting thoughts kind of come, and it's a form of kind of lying down meditation. Now, how do you recommend being able to focus on meditation and the breath when under immense stress? I think it's very important to highlight that sometimes if the stress is too immense, it becomes impossible to meditate. And we shouldn't force ourselves. There is, thank God, over the past few years, more awareness to actually states of being in which we shouldn't meditate when under acute, pain and trauma. And in these cases, we recommend movement. Dancing, walking, speaking to someone, gardening, right? So actually doing embodied movements, present movements, aware movements. But to connect to the breath. to keep connecting to the breath. And how do I recommend doing this? It's just that making that decision. I just want to connect to my body. And I have this metaphor that you can use if you want. A lot of our pain is actually here or stored in different places. So if the pain is here because I'm going in loops in my head, does that feel familiar to anyone? One great practice is to imagine my brain dropping down in my belly. Imagine I have no brain and like my brain is actually in my belly. And so bringing the kind of center of gravity of my being lower in my breath, with my breath. And I may not feel it at the beginning. It might sound abstract what I'm saying, but the more you set this intention and practice this, the more you'll see, oh, okay, I can actually invite more of my presence, more of my embodied awareness in my breath. I don't have to live from here, which is what we learn in school. We learn to live from here and to solve life problems from here. Whereas this is just good for computers and invoices and, work, but not for life. For life, we want to work from the kishkis, lower in the body, from the guts. And then you don't have to be sitting in meditation to focus on your breath or to feel your breath. You can decide as you're walking, oh, let me just breathe deeper and feel, oh, let me just, you can set a reminder for yourself, right? Again, having a regular group coming to sit every day here, having a teacher, like all these things help you kind of train, because these are all trainings. The more you do, the easier it's going to become, because the more you're going to remember to come back, because in the end of the day, it's all about coming back. It's all about tshuva. Something that also I find very helpful, I'm going to show you. Hand on the heart, the hand on the belly. And again, feeling the body. It helps me go down from my brain. Just feeling the physical awareness of the body. Singing is very helpful. Nigunim, the Piazetz no Rebbe in his meditation technique, which is really the one I do. Some of you here know it, right? That's what I do. This meditation technique finishes with a nigun, because using the voice is a way of using the breath that helps us free things. It's not a coincidence. It's not just because it's nice or pretty or traditional. There's something really powerful about using the breath through singing, dancing, whatever works for you. We all have our ways. I think that's it for now. And some people find the breath a trigger. Yeah. And so if the breath feels, not accessible, then you can focus on feeling the earth under your fingers, a rose, water under your fingers, something under your feet, right? The idea is to be embodied. The idea is to be embodied. Okay? And to make peace with your breath, and to not force yourself if something feels triggering. We don't need to.
Mira, I just appreciate so much the reminder to bring gentleness to ourselves, that we don't have to force awareness of our aliveness, but we can gently invite it in the ways that we can. And you opened with such a beautiful invitation to hold in heart and mind those who can't right now sit in this particular way. And so we can extend that gentleness to ourselves, and even go one step further and generously offer it for those who can't. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you for guiding us today, and so many days, and in these unsteady times, helping us find our grounding, to be reminded of this nishmat kol chai, this soul breath that is all of us, in and between us all. Thank you so much, Mira.
Thank you, friends.